everyone. Thanks for joining us today. It's Saturday.
It's
Saturday.
Game day.
It's game day in Bulldog Country. So we're so excited to be here and to be sharing with you. And as you'll notice, we do have a few little Bulldog items with us. My sister is actually a quilter also. She makes quilts and has made one for just about all family members.
I think so, particularly
the grandchildren and great-grandkids.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, well, Gail is going to start today.
Yes, and let me just get a little sip of water. I don't know if it's the fall or what, but I'm needing, my throat is kind of...
Yes, get situated.
It's a little bit dry. The first couple of books that I'm going to review today will be something that I read on my Libby app that I have downloaded on my iPad. And I know, Carla, you have Libby as well. We've talked about Libby, and some of you may wonder, what in the world is that? Well, it's a free app. You go to the App Store and you download it onto your iPad or your phone. A lot of people don't mind
And some
reading.
of you might think, when there's Libby on the table. That's something we used to. It's also I think it's a brand of food. Libby,
yes,
Libby.
I believe it is. But
we're going to
move Mr. Bulldog for a minute. I don't know if you can see this. Okay, I'm going to click on my Libby app, and you probably really can't see very clearly what's
maybe
on
come
there.
out of it, Gail, and just show them how the app
here
looks.
It comes. Here it comes. Here it comes.
But
Here are some.
Good.
Here are some books that I have downloaded on the app. And what you do, you download the app itself, then you go in and you put your library card number in. You do have to have your own library card because it gets the books from the library system that's in your area. And you have a search, which looks like the little eyeglass. That's pretty familiar for search. And you put in an author's name or you put in the title of the book and hit search. And a lot of times you just have lots of books to look for, and you can borrow. That would be the term. Hit borrow if it's ready to be borrowed and you want to, and it will go right to your Libby, right to your iPad Libby app, and
you can pick whether you want to read it on Libby or Kindle. If you have a Kindle.
I forgot about that.
And
that's absolutely right. And if there's a book you really want and you can only put a hold, it'll have, so you can just hit the hold button and it will give you a notification when it's ready for you to borrow.
And sometimes if it's a popular book, I mean, you're waiting for months, literally.
Right. You are.
And the only thing that's not my favorite about it is after 2 weeks, that is it. If somebody else wants it. And if it's a popular book, somebody else is going to want it. So you're kind of on that schedule.
You are. But now, I don't know if some of my books just are not, a lot of people waiting for them at the time. I've only had 2 or 3 times where it said 3 people are waiting, 4 people. So I know I can't renew, because you can renew them like you can at the library. If somebody is not waiting for them.
For some reason, my books, everybody wants to read them. I don't know if it's because they watch us or what.
Put our little cute little bug. Okay.
Right in the center. We're so OCD.
No, and what I'm trying to do, this is True Confessions time. Are we ready?
Whoa.
True Confessions. I am one that must have some notes to look at. And I hope that you that are watching won't be a little turned off or be constantly looking down at my notes. But the 2 books that I did read on my Libby app, it was several months ago. And
as opposed to me reading 2 books yesterday to finish.
See, she reads 4 at a time and somehow can keep up with everything. And I have to have my notes. And part of it, Carla, I don't know if you remember, but I've had 2 really traumatic episodes in my life when I did not have any notes in front of me and just drew a complete blank. And so I'm going to be using my notes. I'm hiding them though a little bit with my books. And all right, so my first book, let's get to it, Gail.
Yes.
That I read on the Libby app is Collateral Damage by Lynette Eason.
A different author.
And you probably could not tell, but I have like 4 of her books downloaded on my Libby app right now.
We couldn't tell that.
Yes, so because I do like her. It is the first book in a series. She does like to write series of books. So her series for this one is Danger Never Sleeps, and that is so true. The opening scene of this book happens in Afghanistan at a military base, an army base, and one of the servicemen in this particular troop, or I'm not sure the term that they call him, but he's suspected of selling secrets, military secrets, to the jihadists. And there is a surprise attack on the base, and one of the main characters, Brooke, is injured, seriously injured in the attack.
Is Brooke a man or
Thank you for Brooke is a female,
Okay.
and she's actually at this time a military psychiatrist on the base. So she helps a lot with PTSD and other things that they're going through. But she is injured severely and needs to be discharged. She's honorably discharged, but it throws her also into a major mystery. Okay. Then we switch to Greenville, South Carolina. Which actually...
a little closer to home?
Yes, a little closer to home. This is where she will
recover.
Yes, and this is her hometown, so this is where she goes. But meanwhile, back in South Carolina, a hiker and his dog find a shallow grave with a body in it. And of course, the police are called out, and the ME and the detectives. And as they're looking at things, they find another grave that has a couple of bodies in it.
Wow.
And then they find one not too far away that's a deep grave with several bodies in it. So they are fearing a serial killer is going on. And so they call in FBI Special Agent Caden. He's another main character in the story. So that's kind of going on. There's several mysterious things going on, and I like that sometimes when there's a lot.
So you don't really know how they're connected yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
So Brooke has recovered from her injuries and from a lot of the emotions that happened during the attack. And she has just opened up her own personal psychiatric counseling service.
So she is completely out of the service.
Yes, she is discharged. She's
honorably discharged.
Honorably discharged, absolutely. And so she's just now opening this office, and a former soldier at her base, his name is Asher, he is going through PTSD, and so he knows that she would be someone to go to, and would be someone that could help him. So he shows up at her office, and I just won't even tell you what happens the day that he shows up at her office.
Good.
Because I'm going too long. I know. I'm
No, you're not.
No.
I will pinch you. We've had this. We have discussed this. If you watch us, every now and then, my sister, God bless her soul, when she loves her book, she just can't stop talking about it.
Well, and see, I don't know whether
how to catch them. How much do I have to tell them?
Exactly.
They're going to be interested.
But it escalates from there, and I'm going to just give you a little quote from my husband on these types of books. He says, "Put your seatbelt on, because this book is going to take you on a wild ride."
You know, Betty Davis said something like that in a movie. Put
Well,
your seatbelts on. It's going to be a bumpy ride tonight. Yeah, Betty Davis. I love her. So
Collateral Damage.
Collateral Damage.
Lynette Eason.
I don't think I've heard of Lynette. That's interesting. And how did you find her? Or do you remember?
Just probably an author that I did look up on Libby.
And they have similar?
Yes.
That's another good thing.
Sometimes they don't have as many choices, and they will just automatically put up someone that's a similar type author with a similar genre. So,
okay.
Thank you for letting me use my notes.
Yes, and I'm going to discuss a little bit about An Unthinkable Thing by Nicole Lundrigan. And I really enjoyed this book. It's about a young boy. He's 11 years old, and his name is Thomas, and he's being raised by his Aunt Celia. And the reason for that is a little bit of the mystery. He does have a mother that lives nearby, Esther, but she lives in this gorgeous, gorgeous mansion where she is basically the housekeeper and the cook, and just kind of does all of the
Not
chores.
her home. She's
Not at all.
She's employed there.
Yeah. And Thomas is just a delightful young man. He's one of those that you love because he has such a deep soul. He wants to do the right thing. His aunt tells him one time when he asked, what should I be when I grow up? And she just looks at him and she says, it really doesn't matter as long as you're a good man. And he has good friends. They live in one of the lower income areas, but he loves his life. And he has a lady that lives next door, Mrs. Keene, that he goes and visits, and she's a great cook. And so things are going really well for him. And then his aunt starts acting a little unusual. She's an RN, she's single, and she starts dating this guy, but she's kind of secretive about it. And so there's also some murders that have occurred in this area, and they're all female. And one night his aunt doesn't come home from work. And of course he starts telling people and searching, and he's so upset. And they do find out that she has been murdered, and they think it's by this serial killer because the same type of things are found, and the type of things are similar, the way the murder happens. So he goes to live with his mom. And at first he just refuses to believe that his aunt is dead. It's almost like he's living in this fantasy world, but everybody thinks, it's going to be so good for you. You're going to live in this mansion, and these people have so much money, and they got a swimming pool. And well, this is kind of like a little bit of a gothic mystery. This family is very psychologically off. And it's not a thriller. It's not scary. Because I don't really like those kinds. But
would dysfunctional be a better word, maybe? Or
I don't know. It's a little worse than that. The lady, she's heavily sedated all the time. The husband is a doctor. He's a dentist. But you find out some things about him. And then the son, Martin, who is a little bit older than Thomas. Martin has got, probably you would say, sociopathic issues that start to be revealed. But something happens at this house. It's tragic. Thomas gets blamed for it.
Oh no.
And it kind of goes from there. I really, it's probably, I don't know if it's kind of a hidden book or anything. This author has written some bestsellers. I plan to read some other of her books. Let me look at my notes for a minute. Ugh. She lives in Toronto. This book came out in 2022. I can't look where she's written 11 books, and I'm going to read some more of her books. I think this is the 8th novel of hers. And one other character. There's an elderly lady that lives next door, but her place is kind of in the woods. She's senile. Her husband's passed away, and she's always going through the woods looking for her husband. And she ends up being kind of a pivotal character. So I enjoyed it, and I would suggest if you like mysteries, especially those type that get into the actual psyche of each of the characters, you'll like this one a lot.
My next book is another one that I read on my iPad with the Libby app. The title is Living Lies by Natalie Walters. And I was thinking, Carla, sometimes I like to try to figure out how they come up with the title.
Yeah.
living lies.
That sounds like a person that's just totally living. Maybe they're not even who they say they are.
Well, it could be that. I do know that the character, Lane, she's 28 years old. She's a recent widow, and she has a 5-year-old son, Noah. And she does have some secrets, and she is lying about some things in her life. So that's part of it right there. She's living with some lies that she's harboring.
Did she have these lies before she became a widow? I mean, is that?
I'm not going to divulge any of that. You have to read
wow.
the book.
Okay.
But the neatest thing, this book is set in a small town, and the name of the town is Walton, Georgia.
Well, we have a Walton County.
That's where I live. I live in Walton
Don't
County.
tell people where you live. They'll be coming at your
Oh,
door.
no, I didn't say the name of the town, but they could look it up. Anyway, so it's a fictional town, Walton, Georgia.
Yes.
It's near the Ogeechee River, and I did look that up to sort of see where the river is, and it flows southeast and empties into the Atlantic, right? Just below Savannah. So that's really, it's a black water river.
Ooh.
Okay? All right. This book opens up with Lane about to jump off the bridge into the Ogeechee River. And Charlie is the next character. He's a former Marine MP who has recently graduated from the police academy. So he's now going to be a policeman in this small town. And he comes upon her, and he just realizes something's a little off here. And he's trying to talk.
She's climbing up.
Yeah, he tries to talk her down.
He's a bright
very
one,
calmly.
He's a bright one.
But he is brand new, and he doesn't know the people
Small
of this town. Yes, and he just moved there, and so she of course realizes, oh my goodness, he has seen me,
and how bright
about to do this.
Sorry.
So she just doesn't even want to talk. She runs away as fast as she can go, and of course it's kind of through the woods. She stumbles over a dead body. Another dead body. Mysterious murder. They find out later whether or not it's a murder, but it's a young girl, and she screams, of course. Naturally, you would scream. And Charlie comes running now. He's like, I can't leave her. So that's part of the very beginning. They call 911. Charlie's uncle is the sheriff of this town, and of course he comes. So he's a part of the story, the sheriff. And the other little backstory, and I'm thinking it's part of what has happened to Lane, okay? She belongs to a very wealthy, prominent family in the town. Mm-hmm. Her father is a judge, and he's up for for the Senate. He's up to be I could look at my notes. He's up to be getting the Senate bid. Oh, and anyway, so he's campaigning, they're on the TV, they're being filmed, and so that's real important now.
Now, this is happening at the same time that she is trying to commit suicide, so she's not going to want that to come out.
No, not at all.
Since she didn't do it.
And her mom is your typical Southern belle who definitely wants to brush everything under the rug if it has anything to do with something that's not just absolutely perfect.
And we can relate to that.
Oh, we can.
Our mother was like that.
Oh, well, I think the times, in the South, yes, you everything was needed to look really good and perfect, and you don't talk about any problems. Definitely not like the ones
really
that Lane
serious,
had. And that it will come out. Several of the things that this poor young widow has gone through. So that's a part of the story there. Lots of mystery surrounding the murder of the young girl. Lane's secrets. All of it plays into what's going to happen with her father's future. You're just going to really fall in love with particularly Lane. But another character that I fell in love with is Charlie's uncle's wife, his aunt. And of course, I didn't look up her name. Sorry.
Well,
it's aunt. It's his aunt. She is delightful. She's your comic relief, among all of this. And so I really, she's just a caring person, and she has sort of taken Lane under her wings, as well as now her nephew, who's one of the new policemen there.
Is Lane kind of not estranged from the family, but does she have conflict somewhat with her family?
She's the one. She's like the black sheep. Her
like me.
No,
like
no,
me.
no.
It's okay.
Her
it's
sister, her sister has the perfect marriage, perfect children, everything just going perfectly. You know that's not true. And then her brother, he can pretend to be that way very well, but he is not. Behind the scenes, he's got his own little issues. But one thing I loved about Lane is the struggles that she has gone through. She has a heart for people that are down and out, people that have been through some broken times, and maybe particularly the homeless. There's some homeless in this area. She opened up a restaurant with the money from, I'm getting a little long, the money from her husband's life insurance. So that's what her life is. That restaurant, her son, helping other people,
and killing yourself.
Yes.
That's the dramatic beginning of the book.
And then Charlie is a real stabilizing factor in the book. So, Living Lies by Natalie Walters. I recommend it, and I give it 4 stars. We forgot to do stars for the very first one, and I also give Collateral Damage 4 stars.
Okay, and we're not making jest of the fact that the book is a very good book. It's just I can get.
You love to be funny and spicy, and that's okay.
I get this. Yeah, I think it sounds good, and it is. Small town books are usually good. It's interesting. Yeah, I don't like small towns. I lived in one. And
where everybody knows your name.
Yeah, well, I was. They didn't know my name. I was Mrs. Jeff. Okay. Yeah, they didn't know my name. But anyway, that's neither here nor
Life
there.
isn't perfect
no,
on
it's
this
not.
earth. And
The Latecomer, and the Latecomer is by Hanff Korelitz. Nope, I said that wrong, and I looked it up to be able to say it right. Let me do that again. Hanff Korelitz. I like to look the names up on Google, how to pronounce.
You get a lot of books with authors that have
unusual
names hard to pronounce.
And I'm starting, Gail, when I read these books, I'm not remembering how I got them. It's interesting. You want to kind of remember, why did I get this book?
You watch booktubers
I do.
lot. That's how
you
decided to do one, right?
That's true, because... And I enjoy looking at my young booktubers. They're delightful. But I did want to maybe.
Are you saying that we're old booktubers? I think we probably are with our age. We won't give our age out though, but
no, we're going to get to the book now.
Yes,
The Latecomer. This book is in New York City, and it's about a family, a very wealthy family there, and the father, whose name is Salo. When he is in college, he is in a tragic accident, and it's one of those freak accidents. It was not his fault. It was nobody's fault. He was in a Jeep with 3 of his friends, and it hit something, and it just caused the Jeep to tumble, and all 3 of the people were severely injured except for him, and he was driving. So actually it ended up that 2 persons died and 1 survived, but it just really marked him, and I would say probably for the rest of his life. He just felt so guilty, and it actually created some issues for him that he never got over. But he does end up later on marrying a lady. Her name is Johanna, and they get married, and later on she starts to want children, and he kind of has an antiseptic view of things.
Interesting word.
Could be possibly from that accident, but it's almost like his feelings are are hidden, or he can't really tap into them or something. So he's just kind of laissez-faire about it, and they do struggle. So she eventually convinces him to do the IVF. And so they try it, and actually they implant 3 embryos, and they all survive. So they have 3 children all at once.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, she has 2 boys, Harrison and Llewellyn. I looked up how to pronounce his name. It was very unusual. Llewellyn and Sally. Now, these 3 siblings, the mother wants them to be so close. She wants to have this close-knit family, and they don't get along at all. They just go their own way. None of them really connect in any way. And she always has every year a special birthday celebration, though, and they take their pictures, and she hangs up this picture. You can go up the stairs and see them as they grow up. Well, they get to be off to college, and they go through a phase where it's almost totally unrealistic, where 2 go to the same college, and it's such a way that they don't like each other, or they don't want people to know about each other, but they actually never, ever, ever see each other in college, and nobody knows about the other one. Now, the father, in the meantime, has found out that his connection in life is art. He loves art. And it turns out, as the years go by, he buys all of this art that are nobodies that end up becoming very famous. Mm-hmm. So he evidently has what they would call an eye for art. But the interesting part about the book is, as the 3 children go off to college, and Johanna finds out that Salo is just having a life almost totally separate from her, she decides she wants to have a 4th child. And they had 4 embryos frozen. So they do this. She just tells her husband that actually he doesn't really have a choice. She just wants to do this. They get a surrogate mother, and they have this 4th child that is 17, 18 years younger than her siblings. Well, there's a tragic thing that happens later on as the 3 college students are coming home for their birthday, and to have the birthday picture, and everybody's there, and something comes out at this that just devastates the family. And then the ending of the book, which is so, I think, so good, shows how the Latecomer, and that's Phoebe's the Latecomer, how she brings her family together.
Oh.
And it's a good book. It has some political views in it that I don't agree with necessarily, but we're all different. We just all have different thoughts and views, and that's okay. This author is an unusual writer in that she develops characters in a very slow way. A lot of words, but it takes a while to really get to know the character. But I really enjoyed it. She also wrote a book called The Undoing, which was a fabulous movie on HBO. And I'm also reading another one of hers right now called The Plot, which is great. It's about an author, wrote a book, hasn't been able to write one, comes across an idea that's not really his, and things go from there. So, great book. I give it a 4, and I also give my first one, The Unthinkable Thing, a 4. Thank you.
The next book I want to review is Echoes of the Titanic by Mindy Starns Clark and her husband, John Cambell Clark. I have read a book by Mindy Starns Clark called A Penny for Your Thoughts, and I really liked it. And I was at our library, and sometimes there'll be a table of freebies at the library. And so this was there, and I recognized the author, so I said, I'm getting that book and take it home. So sometimes you can get a book and get it free. Well, this particular book is all about Adele, the great-grandmother of Kelsey and how she survived the sinking of the Titanic.
And it's fiction though, right?
It is fiction based on truth, how
Right.
sometimes, and that's where her husband came in because he did a lot of the research on the truth of the sinking of the Titanic. And he says that in here, that he enjoyed very much doing that and collaborating with his wife on the book. So Kelsey's great-grandmother, Adele, she did survive the sinking. It's set in New York. She thrives as she gets back to New York and actually starts a business, starts a firm. It's a investment firm. At first I thought firm, okay, that must be a law firm.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not. It's an investment firm, and the title is Brennan and Tate. Adele was Adele Tate, and then Kelsey, her great-granddaughter, is also Kelsey Tate. And Kelsey is rising up in this firm, and she's giving it her all. She wants to be one day the CEO maybe of the firm.
So she's working in her grandmother's
The
firm.
that
Okay.
her grandmother started. Now, her grandmother is no longer her great-grandmother. It's her great-grandmother. And if I'm remembering correctly, she's no longer alive. However, they do the flashback. I love that. Sometimes.
Right.
They do the flashback. The firm is facing a takeover, a hostile takeover. New facts come about regarding the great-grandmother and what happened on the Titanic. Some different things that controversial things. That's the word. Someone that's very close to Kelsey is found dead. They're not sure if it was a murder or a suicide or what. So these are some of the three threads that are going on in the book. It's mystery, a possible murder, corporate intrigue because of this hostile takeover. Kelsey has to lean on a man that she was once very much in love with and lost. It didn't work out. But for certain reasons, he's gonna have to be a help to her during the problems that are going on in the firm. Okay.
Professionally.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And she also ends up falling back on her faith and needs to find some strength from that which she had just that had just become not a very important part of her life.
Right.
And so that comes out too in the book. Then she's defending the family name during all of this, and even her livelihood. All of her adult life, she has wanted to be in business and got her degree, and so now it looks like just so much is crashing down.
Okay. Yeah. Just to kind of get it together in my head.
Because I didn't explain
No,
it.
not that, really,
No,
seriously. The great-grandmother was Adele. She was on the Titanic, and she lived. And she came back. And then we have her great-granddaughter, Kelsey, that's working in the firm. Do we discuss the people between these two? Do we discuss the
parents and family, other family members?
Her mother?
Yes, yes. That does come out.
Okay.
Yeah, but you wanted me to shorten it, so...
I'm sorry, I'm just trying to
okay.
figure out where the Titanic is going to come in.
Well, I'm not going to tell you that.
Oh.
But number one, I think it's just wonderful that this great-grandmother survived. Some people did survive.
Yes, that's true.
And
it is.
she, not only that, she was able to use family money, and begin this business.
Yeah.
So
okay.
You'll have to read it. I'm not going to tell you everything about it. I'm not going to say anything more.
Sometimes when you have books
of the Titanic,
echoes of the
Mindy
Titanic.
Starns Clark and her husband John Cambell Clark, and I would give it. I like to give out stars. I would give it a 3 or 4. I really do.
Yeah.
I really would. Yeah.
Well, it sounds good. And I know, and I'm not trying to make it more complex, but a lot of times when you have books that go back and forth in time, I'm reading one now, and honestly, it goes like back to the 1800s, and then it's the 1900s, and then it's 2000 and something.
I like
and
that. I like that.
I like that
do.
style, but I'm struggling with this one only because for some reason the characters, I'm getting them a little bit confused.
Okay. Well, this one, it doesn't dwell a lot on the actual sinking of the Titanic.
Yeah.
But there are some things.
They're therefore echoes. It's not. Like,
See there? Look at you, girl. You're so
Takes
smart.
a while.
You're
Takes
so
a while.
smart.
Okay. News of the World by Paulette, Jiles. Not the normal book that I would pick up. I wonder how I picked it up, but I'm so glad that I did. Paulette Jiles lives in America. She's an American author, and she has another very famous book. Got my notes way over here. But anyway, let me just tell you about this book. This is about an older gentleman. He's in his 70s, and he was a captain in the war. This is right after the Civil War. It's like in 1870s, and he is in Texas, and he comes across a gentleman, another person who was in the war, that has a young 10-year-old girl that had been taken from her family by the Indians, and they had actually murdered the rest of her family, her parents and her sister, and took her when she was 6 years old, and she's now 10 years old, and her name is Johanna, and his name, she calls him Captain when she starts to remember English. But he agrees to take her to her surviving relatives, and they're going to be traveling through Texas for quite a lot of miles, and they do face a lot of hardships, a lot of battles, a lot of concerns, and as time goes by, of course, they develop a very close relationship. He's like a grandfather to her, and finds out she's so bright, and she starts learning English very quickly, and she is so helpful when they get in these difficult situations, being raised somewhat by the Indians. She is smart as a whip, and he'll be thinking, what can I do? And he'll turn around and she's bringing him something, that's going to be such a wonderful help to get out of the situation that they're in. Has a very good ending. It's a little sad, but I enjoyed it so very much. There was a movie that came out about this book, and I know Tom Hanks is in it. It came out in 2016, and I think the book came out also that year, so it was fairly quick that it was taken up and made a movie of it. So I do
recommend well of it right there.
Yes. It's just a warm, interesting book about the West during that time. The state itself was having political problems, and it was almost lawless, really, so to speak. And so I do highly recommend this book. I'm going to read some others of hers. Pick it up.
How many stars are you going to give it, Carla?
I'm going to give it a 4. And all of mine today, if I haven't said, I would say a 4.
Yeah, sounds right. Okay, I'm going to review another book in the series by Julia Spencer-Fleming. I had to look at my notes. See there?
Don't look at your notes. Just ask me, girl, because I know all about Julia Spencer.
Okay. The one that I reviewed last week, I think, was In the Bleak Midwinter. This one is Out of the Deep I Cry. And I bought this book at the Wall of Books in Watkinsville with my sister the other day. And so I guess the cover, the nice, attractive cover, is no longer there. So all you're seeing is black. But Out of the Deep I Cry, Julia Spencer-Fleming.
And what a great place to be able to go to. And I'm sure they're all throughout the country.
Yes.
Or these
discount books.
Yeah, used bookstores. And I just find that the people that work there, to me, are just so comfortable to be around, get to know. They enjoy books, for one thing, and they love to help you find something you'd be interested in.
And I was so excited to come across this particular book. And my library did not have this one. So this, again, has Claire Ferguson and Russ Van Alstyne, or Van Alstyne. I should have looked it up, Carla. I don't.
Gee, you'd think I know. I've read 7 of them.
If you remember at all, Claire is the Episcopal priest who was a former Army helicopter pilot. And Russ is just a neat character. He's the police chief for Miller's Kill, New York, in the Adirondack Mountain area.
Just one of those strong, if he was in a movie, John Wayne would play him.
Yes, I agree. Okay. So there are 2 mysteries going on in this book. We talked about that. The first one happened in 1924, between 1924 and 1937. And then there's the current day mystery. So like you said, it will say then and now, and then and now. But, it towards the end, it's going to begin to come together, weave together. Both are centered around a problem that the family members, particularly the parents, had with vaccinations. And there was fear there. And it's apropos to what we're going through today. So I thought that was kind of unusual. So pick up this book, find out why it's about 2 missing persons. The missing person from the 1930s, and there's a missing person in the present day. So you've got to find out.
How does it connect?
Yes, how does it connect? The one, of course, the old one's a cold case. And the new one has you running and skipping and trying to figure out. Is this
the doctor, if I'm remembering correctly?
Yes.
That would be the one that would giving out the vaccinations. And there was this one mother in particular.
Yeah. Her name is Deborah, but she wants to be called Deba. D-E-B-B-A.
Deborah.
So, I kept wanting to read Deborah, and no, she wants to be called Deborah. But yes, she has an autistic son and truly believes that because she did allow the vaccination for
something else earlier in his life.
Yeah.
TB, maybe?
I think it's that 3, the whooping cough.
Measles.
Anyway.
Months.
She's just is sure that that's what caused the autism, and she's very upset about it. There's some family money that's involved in the clinic. It funds the clinic, and there's a lot of mysterious
missing threads that come together.
Yeah.
She is a great author.
She is a good author. I have enjoyed reading her. The first 3 books that I reviewed are what we call Christian fiction authors, and that's a particular genre, and it's my favorite. And so some of the books that I review are in that one, and some are not. And this is not one that I would say would fit in that, but yet at the same time, it's got wonderful stories, wonderful mysteries, wonderful character studies of what the people go through. And Claire, you just fall in love with Claire and Russ. Those are the 2 main ones. And her heart is for every person she comes in contact with. She wants to help them.
And she's so real.
Yes, she is.
And as you go further into the series and their personalities and their relationships develop, you see her facing issues the way a Christian person would want to. Exactly. She really does seek out what God would have me do.
Yes, she does. And that's what we all should do. But things happen. And I love the Christian fiction authors who do write about the reality and truth of the brokenness that's in this world, and how you can work through it, how your faith can play a part, and how people play a part. So, did I give any stars? I think definitely 4 stars for this one.
I would say 5 for all.
Would you say 5? Oh, okay.
Well, you just when
you've read it, that's yours.
I just think the whole series itself, because I don't know that each book would get a 5, but my enjoyment level when I have read those books would be a 5. Okay. Thank you so much. And next time we are going to be doing I don't know if you technically call it a vlog, VLOG, but we're going to be going somewhere, a very, very special place. I'm not going to tell you where it is. We're going to be filming there. We're going to be touring there. So join us soon for that one. And thank you for this, and go Dogs!